Mike Stelzner from socialmediaexaminer.com, and I'm joined today by Mark Burnett, the executive producer of amazing reality television shows like The Apprentice and Survivor, one of my favorite shows. Mark, how are you doing today?
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So I wanted to ask you about reality television and social media. How do you think a year or 2 years down the road, things like Twitter, Facebook are going to have an impact on people's viewership of reality television?
Well, it's already having a massive impact, by making what used to be considered water cooler conversation from a show, where you'd go to work the next day and talk about the coffee machine or the water cooler machine. Now the electronic water cooler is social media. And so in order to break through the myriad of viewing choices, you need to have things that are socially media friendly and worth talking about. It comes down to the creativity of trying to choose what is it that people will talk about. In terms of a physical change, someone's going to figure out how to actually make shows interactive as you go along.
Wow, so bringing the consumer involved.
Someone's going to have to, I wish it would be me to figure out, but who knows, but someone's going to figure that out.
How do you come up with these ideas for these reality television shows? What's the formula that, okay, I know this is going to be a big hit? Are there a couple of core components that go into creating a great show like, your new show that's coming out with Sarah Palin?
There's no formula to making successful shows, and I have no clue whether any of my shows are ever going to work. Honestly, anybody who tells you they know, they're deluded. I had no idea Survivor would be the hit it is. I had no idea Apprentice, so he's smarter than a fifth grader. But you make judgments, like me putting Jimmy Johnson on this year's Survivor was pretty obvious. People would be talking about it.
It was great.
When Sarah Palin got, the nomination to run for vice president, it was everywhere. I mean, there's no one in the whole country didn't know who she was. And around that time, me and 250 other producers and every channel, every broadcast network asked her to do shows. Believe me, I'm just the one that managed to get her to agree to do it, because my viewpoint was her touring Alaska with her family. And so
talk to me. The name of the show is Sarah Palin's
Alaska. And it's shot, with my crews who are those, Survivor trained, outdoor, eco-challenge type people who, are not frightened of the elements.
Right.
Because it's an outdoor show in Alaska with that family on their summer adventure and doing things they've never done before.
Give us some example of the kind of things.
Dog mushing, mountaineering, working at a logging camp, things they have done before, commercial salmon fishing. That's what they did for a living, and just big adventures, seeing bears. It really is a great show showing the beauty of Alaska and the fun of that outdoor family.
When you put shows like this together, how do you connect? Obviously, you're trying to connect with the viewers of the show so that they will want to talk about it and spread it in other channels and social media and so on and so forth. What are you looking for? What is it about Sarah Palin, and what is it about Alaska in particular that you think is going to really resonate with the world?
Alaska is epic. I mean, it just is unbelievable natural resources, huge mountain after mountain, river after river, coastline upon endless miles of coastline, bears and eagles and whales. It's just epic. I think it's a very aspired to destination, and I think the show will drive more tourism there. In terms of Sarah Palin, it didn't take
She's got an amazing personality, yeah.
It didn't take the brains of a rocket scientist to realize people would be interested, whether they were in love with her or didn't like her, that what it would be like to see her and her family touring Alaska and doing adventures. It's called casting. It's called being a producer and understanding what breaks through. And she only agreed to do it because she loves Alaska. And it was easy for her to understand why her and Todd and the kids would do a big Alaskan adventure.
Outstanding. Are there any other shows that you can talk about that are coming up?
Yeah, I got a great show on the Oprah Winfrey Network called Your Own Show, where we went out there and cast for people who were looking to have their own show. They'd seen Oprah do it for 25 years.
Right.
Here's their big chance. And so we're in the middle of shooting that right now, where people bring their ideas, and the lucky 10 were selected to be pitching Oprah, and trying to show why they deserve their own show.
What is the fascination in America and around the world with reality television? What do you think it is?
I really don't know. I think it's the relatability of ordinary people, but clearly, however you look at it, probably 90% of all television now is non-fiction, so-called reality TV. And so, I don't exactly know why. I just know it's working.
Well, you're doing a great job, Mark, and I thank you very much for this interview today.
Thank you
Have a
so
wonderful
much.
day.
Thank you.
And now I'm joined by Brian Rich, who is the social media strategist for TLC's Sarah Palin's Alaska. So Mark told us a lot about the show. Now I'd like to hear from you how you guys are using social media to get the word out about this show. Can you give me kind of a high level on some of the stuff you guys are doing?
Sure. Well, and I think what Mark was saying about the show is really important because it starts with the content on the show. The way TLC is looking at social media is it's an opportunity to increase the access and the watchability of the show. So we are launching 4 dedicated blogs around the show, one focused on culture, fashion, food, life in Alaska, and life around the Palin family.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
4 different blogs.
Yes.
Wow. So now why 4?
Well, because I think it's important to recognize that there are a lot of different audiences who will be interested in the show.
Okay.
And what we want to try and do, and what digital and social media allows us to do, is isolate independent conversations or certain niche audiences and give them the things that they're interested in. So we have a cultural conversation, we have a political conversation, we have a media, PR, blog kind of support conversation, and a behind-the-scenes conversation. We also have a podcast that will run twice a week. At least one of the 2 shows will be live that gives an opportunity for fans to call in or ask questions. And really, it starts with if we can create some compelling information or create experiences, real or virtual, that will increase the likelihood people want to watch the show or talk about the show or learn something from the show, get something that they find interesting out of the show, then we've accomplished our mission.
Let's go back to the blogs for a second. So what kind of content are you guys going to be putting on the different blogs?
Sure. Well, obviously we'll be, re-promoting and repurposing some of the show-specific content, but really what we're focused on is creating original content that extends different elements that you'll find in the show. So, as I think Mark told you, the Palin family as a part of the show goes on a bunch of adventures. One of them, for example, is dog sledding. If you live in the lower 48, I don't think you have an appreciation for dog sledding. What we're going to try to do across the blogs is to introduce aspects of dog sledding that the audience might find interesting. We're going to find the ways that it relates to people's lives or what's happening in pop culture or in the news or sort of in current life. We're going to try and demonstrate what life in Wasilla, Alaska, and Sarah Palin's Alaska is like and how it compares to the places where people are watching the show on TLC every Sunday night might be sitting. So I think, our goal with the blogs and really everything we're doing is to expand the conversation on one hand and deepen it on another. So it's not marketing in the traditional sense where we're trying to get everyone on the same page with one message or 2 messages. We're actually recognizing and trying to listen to what the audience wants to hear and what they want to be talking about in relation to the show and using these channels as a way of giving it to them.
Let's talk about podcasts. You mentioned you're doing some podcasts. What kind of content? Is it Sarah Palin answering people's questions or what's the angle on that?
Yeah, I think, so the intention is to have 2 shows, one that airs immediately after the show on Sunday night, which would likely be a live show, give us a chance to review what happened, review some of the live conversations that were happening across Twitter and Facebook and similar.
Kind of a behind-the-scenes kind of thing?
Absolutely. And then also open it up to fans or people who didn't like the show to call in, ask questions, give comments. The other show, I'd call it more of a meta conversation, something that gives us a chance to analyze whether or not the show is interesting or how people view it. We'll hopefully be able to get, if not Sarah Palin, maybe other members of the family or people who are from Wasilla, Alaska, or who have similar experiences. I personally visited Alaska a few years ago. I have my own bear story, right? We went bear watching, and I can talk all about that. My hope is to give fans, people online and who are just watching the show, an opportunity to share those stories and be a part of the conversation, and the podcast is one of those ways.
Brian, my last question is stepping back a little bit from the show. How do you think social media is going to impact future television shows? What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Well, I think one of the really exciting things about what TLC is committed to here is they're not looking at the social platforms as just another marketing and broadcast tool. They really are committed to engaging. And I know that word gets tossed around a lot, but we know that how people watch TV is changing, and a lot of that has to do with the accessibility of technology. So 50% of people watch television with a laptop within reach. Probably 100% of people who watch television have a mobile device on and active. So it's not about any individual channel or platform. It's about the social nature of the viewing experience. It's about the real-time transfer of information, the location-specific opportunities. What TLC is trying to do, and where I think social media is influencing media and pop culture and television in general, is it's blowing the doors off, right? Instead of watching a show, going onto Google and saying, why are they doing that, or what is it about that, and not finding anything, what we're going to try to do here, and where I think television networks in general need to do to catch up to social media, is put that information out there and give people the opportunity in the fan community to provide that information as well, so that really the whole viewing experience is richer and more interactive and more compelling and more substantive and more social at the end of the day.
If folks want to learn more, Brian, about the TV show, where would they go?
Sure. The official site will be tlc.com/spalaska. The hub of all of the social conversations for the 4 blogs, and the podcast will be www.spalaska.com. And then, variations on SP Alaska and Sarah Palin's Alaska on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Scribd, SlideShare, Blog Talk Radio. And then obviously as the show rolls out, we'll see hashtags and things like that, hopefully that start to focus on the show's content and the brand.
Awesome. Brian, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.